Okay, guys, I think we're ready to start the first episode ever of Coffee Break. This is a new MMO segment we're going to be doing here on Merrick TV. We're going to be talking about games, talking about the MMOs that we all love, the evolution of the genre, the current state of Guild Wars 2, where it's headed, where it came from, how it's improving, what things still could use some improvement, and we have a lot of new things to talk about. So welcome everyone. My goal will be that we do this periodically, maybe talk to different streamers throughout the various weeks to come, maybe check in with people about what they're doing, how their community is shaping up, how Guild Wars 2 is, just sort of a forum for people to talk about the game and what's going on with them. So, welcome. Thank you guys for hanging out. The first day of this is going to be myself, Merrick TV, Junie, of course, my right-hand girl, and then Cryptic Villain, my right-hand man, who is about to appear on stream for the very first time ever. Are you? Oh no, he's gone. Where'd you go? Cryptic.
What? I'm here.
Okay, there he is. Okay, all right, here we go. If anything happens, let me know. And the nice fade in. What's up, guys? And I'm eating melon. I hope you guys don't mind. You guys know I like melon.
He loves his melon, especially winter melon.
I do. All right, guys, so check it out. We're going to be doing this podcast. Your questions are going to be sifted through and pushed forward by Junie. She's going to be reading the chat and passing them along to us, making sure that we don't miss them. So if you have any questions or any comments, go ahead and type them out. We'd love to interact with you about that. And at the very end of the stream, which is not going to be that long, it's going to be just a little under 2 hours, we are going to be giving away the last giant thing that we have to give away on Merrick TV. We're giving away an eternity. And in case you thought, oh man, winner of eternity, that's not lucky enough. You're also gonna win 150 gold on top of the eternity. So exciting things to come, guys. Make sure you sit and hang around until the very end. But other than that, I'm gonna pass it over to Cryptic. He's gonna do sort of an introduction, then we'll kick it off from there.
All right. Yeah. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Coffee Break, our MMO podcast kind of thing. Unofficially, this stream is brought to you by Yeti Mugs. If you would like to sponsor us, feel free. No, but one second, let me fix that. There we go. But yeah, so my name is Cryptic Villain, as a lot of you guys know, and below me we've got Merrick TV, and to the right of me we've got Juniper Prime. I've been playing MMOs for about 11 years, I think, and I've played Guild Wars 2 since release, on and off. Love the MMO genre, love everything about gaming and MMOs in particular, and we just thought this would be a great place to have like this forum and discussion. So with that, no further ado, I'll introduce my wonderful co-host, Merrick TV. He is the one, the only, and the brony. Let's not forget that. He's been playing MMOs since the dawn of the genre, as he likes to put it. And
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
He's a big-time Guild Wars 2 streamer. You all know him. You all love him. And he's definitely one of the best raiders around. So if you want to add anything else to that, Merrick, feel free.
What? Yeah, no, thank you for that introduction. I, of course, am Merrick TV. If you guys are here, you probably already know who I am, or you're just here for a legendary giveaway, in which case, I don't blame you, not one bit. I'd be doing the same exact thing. I have been playing MMOs since what I consider to be the very beginning. I've played basically since back when EverQuest was around. It has always been my favorite genre. I think that a whole bunch of, and this is kind of embodied in why I raid, I think a bunch of friends coming together, working in the same fantasy world. It has a very Dungeons and Dragons-esque feeling to it. You know, you play this, I'll play this, you play that, we'll party together and see if we can kill the dragon. So I've been doing that ever since the beginning, and I love it. I love killing the dragon. Poor dragons. So I've played basically every almost every AAA MMO launch since the beginning, and I'm still looking at them now. Guild Wars 2, of course, my favorites. Playing favorites a little bit. I definitely love this game. Been playing it since the head start, just before launch, so my 8th birthday is just about to come up. I deleted my first characters because I didn't know how birthdays worked, so I didn't actually get the first round of birthday gifts, but it's coming pretty soon. And in case you guys aren't tired of hearing it, I met Junie in Guild Wars 2, so love the genre, love the game.
Well, that's awesome, and glad we're doing this podcast thing. Hopefully it takes off and goes in the right direction. And of course, like I said, to the right of Merrick, below me, is the wonderful, beautiful, and awesome Juniper Prime. Everybody say hi to her. She's been playing Guild Wars 2 since the beginning as well, and has been playing MMOs for a very long time. So we thought it would be good to have her not only on board with this one and kind of like monitoring the chat and, you know, passing your questions and stuff along with you guys and participating in the conversation. But also, you know, she's the manager of this channel pretty much. She runs Merrick TV a lot with a lot of the other moderators, and is the evil mastermind behind all of the memes. So having her here is key.
Evil. Diabolical. And yes, it is some cantaloupe. I'm eating some cantaloupe. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's not Choya?
I mean, what's the difference, really?
Is that
Fair,
cantaloupe?
fair.
I think that's winter melon, right, Merrick?
No, it's cantaloupe. Look at it, it's cantaloupe.
Yeah, what Cryptic said is true. Like, I have been playing Guild Wars 2 since it first started. It's actually a pretty funny story. I started in October. I waited a couple of months after the game released, and I started playing right before Halloween. So I got to experience the first Halloween event. And then a hurricane hit New York, and I lost power for 3 months. So I wasn't able to play the game for 3 more months, and I missed the first Christmas. But then ever since then, I've been playing ever since, with just a short break, a little bit before I came back and met Marek. So crazy times.
Yeah.
Well, we're definitely very glad to have you here. I guess before we get into it, there's a little bit of housekeeping. Let me bring up some of the notes here. So first thing we wanted to talk about was, of course, NADL. If you're not a part of NADL, feel free to join. The more the merrier. It's basically the NA version of Delusional Elitist. Somebody can ping that in chat or...
there it is.
Yeah, awesome. There's a few upcoming events with NADL. I think Wednesdays, Pang is doing a raid training. Thursday, Pang is doing some raid clears, so you probably need some XP people for that. And then I'm doing a raid training on Friday. If you're in the guild, you can look at the exact times and stuff. Yeah, or PM any of us, ask in the chat. We've got some weekly events. I think these are like recurring events that go on all the time, though. We've got guild missions with Pang on Monday. That's at 8:30. Tuesday, we've got raid training with Pang again at 9 p.m.
Man.
Yeah, Pang, he's
legend.
Works, yeah. Monday we have a Heart of Thorns Hero Point train with Pet. I'm not sure who that is, but that sounds like some awesome fun.
Harlequin Pet?
Oh, Harlequin Pet. Okay, now that makes sense. Yeah, I know exactly who that is. That's
The
awesome.
stream is questioning, what is Delusional Elitist, says Mela and Zentris.
Says Mela and Zentris. Well, I'm so glad that you guys asked. Listen, guys, Delusional Elitists, abbreviated as DL, not DE, started off as a stream team in Guild Wars 2. The biggest, best, coolest, and most handsome streamers in Guild Wars 2 came together to make sort of an official Twitch stream team. But since then, and just recently, it has evolved to being a giant community movement. Now, I know this is going to sound like a pitch, but we have really big stuff planned for this. And it is really exciting. I myself am a member of the stream team, but from that has developed not just a community Discord, not just a guild in EU, but a guild in NA as well. And so I'm actually heading up the NADL, the North American DL division. We have our own guild hall. It's a huge coming together of content creators and also just community members that want to get involved, drum up some community events and excitement around the game, I think the one thing that we can all sort of agree on is that ANET is not, you know, they're busy, they're small, they've had a lot of stuff happening. They're not maybe the best at like bringing together people to do big community events and also pitching their game, right? The advertising for Guild Wars 2, it's not really the best. So you'll hear Tupac say that a lot of us are trying to basically make the community a more active, involved, and excited place. And it started on EU, but now we're really trying to make it happen in NA as well. And if I do say so myself, the guild that is forming up around all of the amazing NADL organizers is just becoming incredible. I might be biased, but I think we're the best. I also think because of Enko, we're going to be the max level guild hall first. Just going to say that. Just going to throw that out there.
Oh yes, that's going to be one amazing New Year's Eve party when we get max level guild hall.
Big stuff, guys. Big stuff. So honestly, you'll hear people pitching it all the time, but it is what you're going to make it. I want people who want to get involved. I want people who want to make the community a better place. I don't think that you should just have to be a hardcore raider or like a really tough PvPer. If you're new to the game, but you want to be involved, that's great as well. So we're not just doing raids and World v World. We're doing fashion shows. We're doing raffles. We're doing like open world meta event races that anyone can participate in. Shadownin is doing that giant Dragon Stand thing next week. And then just things like hero point trains, like you heard Cryptic just say. So if you want to get involved in a big community with a bunch of people and streamers that you can watch and interact with every day, join DL. Place to be.
Absolutely, yeah. 100%. And we also are doing the World v World thing on Saturday, 7:30. I think Alpha's running that. So check that out. And there's the NADL raffle that Nuzzlebutt's running.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
just opened today, actually.
Yep. Just opened today. Big gold prizes. Obviously, you got to put a little gold to get a lot of gold out, but put some gold in and you win. You could get, I think, what the number one prize is, like 50% of the pot. It's a lot.
Yeah, which could be big. And you can buy a single ticket for as little as 50 silver. It doesn't have to be anything really big. And there is a maximum of 20 gold, I think 40 tickets. So, don't feel like you can't get in because people are going to buy it out. So it's going to be pretty good. Pretty good.
Awesome. One quick thing, I'm actually watching the stream as well. I think YOLO Mouse is like copied over to Stream Elements. It's like covering my face occasionally. I know nobody wants to see my ugly mug, but
right. I'm gonna test it out.
We are all here for Cryptic's face reveal.
Wait. Is that happening?
No, but I think it's because you clicked off of Guild Wars. I think YOLO Mouse only shows up when you're on Guild Wars. It's weird. It's like,
oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Can I like pick Cryptic's nose or?
Yeah, you were just over. Yeah.
I'm working on it. It's a delay. Okay. All right. So guys, while this is happening in the background, we're going to talk about a lot of different topics, but just make sure to get in that giveaway because it's really, really big. We are indeed giving away an eternity at the end of the stream, and the stream's not even going to be that long, so you might have a really good shot at winning it. We just really wanted to introduce this forum, this kind of dialogue with everybody, because there's a lot of stuff going on in Guild Wars 2 right now.
All right, and with that, let's dive into our first topic. So the first thing, and this is also a little bit of news, but first thing we probably should talk about is the Rating League coming back, right?
And I see Roka in the chat, guys. So I guess I should start by saying that while it feels like the Rating League is coming back, the Rating League never went anywhere. It was actually not gone, but part of the big problem with the Rating League is however ambitious it was, however amazing an idea it is, and it really is, right? Like, we loved the ARP, and the most recent ERP was maybe the biggest event that Guild Wars 2 has ever seen in history. I mean, it was like, I think they said 15-ish thousand people watching that at the exact same time. So it was huge. Everyone loved it. I think most of us raiders saw like an influx of raiding happening right after the ERP. So this kind of like, what it is a structured raiding competition environment that happens every month. But my guess is that a lot of people who are here, a lot of people who are hearing about Rating League for the first time right now never had ever gotten any glimpse of it before. I think one of the big problems with it was the only people who knew about Raid League were inside Guild Wars 2 Rating League already. So what this is sort of like an exciting rebranding. There's a brand new website, so it's structured a lot differently, a lot better. They're pulling in a lot of streamers, personalities, big, awesome community members like Roka, like Mela, like Diaxon, and then the secret one, I guess it's not secret anymore, but Mighty Teapot himself, guys, is getting involved in this. And you know he gets stuff done, so it's pretty exciting. There's gonna just be a lot more attention on it soon. My hope is that we'll get to watch the attempts live, and then there's gonna be shoutcasting involved as well. So I will be involved in that. There's like a number of streamers who've come together to hype it up and to be involved, and so I will be. You'll see this pink guy somewhere involved in the raid tournament soon. Lots of exciting stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say you can't leave out the brony, right? So.
Oh no, you can. You absolutely could. You could have. Yeah, did I not make that like in my contract for showing up on this podcast? No, the B word. The B word is banned. B word is banned.
We'll have to update your contract later. Don't worry. We'll look at it. But yeah, there's a Gold League and Silver League, right? So and it's not. It's also not something that's like completely out of people's reach. I mean, obviously it's not for newbie raiders, but once you get some experience under your belt, you might be able to find yourself on like one of the silver teams or something. So
exactly,
definitely like pay attention to it, check it out, and if you like really love raiding, it might be like the next step for you.
Oh, I have to turn. Oh yeah. Hold on, I gotta get the bot on.
Again, not sponsored by Yeti Mugs, but we could be.
But could be. That would be cool. Yeah, could be sponsored by ANET too. I don't know. There was like a weird leak that happened on stream where somebody said that ANET themselves might even be involved in some way, shape, or form with the Raid League, dude. So I don't know if that's actually true, if it'll actually happen, but I didn't say it. It was said by somebody else. So it might be exciting, man.
Yeah, no, that's big news. I mean, hopefully it turns out to be true, because like we really need ANET to get involved with these kind of things. So
yeah, we do. We absolutely do.
All right, so we're gonna move on to topic 2. We're gonna go through these first couple ones pretty quickly, because I have a feeling the ones at the end are really going to be like long nail biters. Nice. Maybe not nail biters, but you know what I mean. So let's talk about a little bit of old news here. Summit playing Guild Wars 2. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that was a huge event for Guild Wars. And
one quick interjection while you do that, if you don't mind. I think there is a package that was just delivered to the house. I'm gonna go check what that is.
Oh,
wait, what?
Oh, wow.
They say I have to sign for it or something?
This is going to be interesting. Yeah, so while Junie does
I don't like the sound of that at all. I don't like the sound of that at all. She gave me a weird look on the way out.
I'm thrilled. I have no idea what it is, but I'm thrilled.
So Summit.
Yes, Summit. Summit, he played some Guild Wars 2 for, about a week? Maybe a little less than that. About 5-6 days. He didn't seem to leave Guild Wars 2 for, I guess we can get into that a little bit later, but leave it for another MMO per se. But obviously, what do you think about how that impacts the game and the streaming content and stuff like that in general?
All right, so obviously that was an enormous deal for the game. You heard me say a little bit earlier that I think one of the Guild Wars 2's biggest issues is not that they don't have a product worth selling, but that they don't sell the product, at least not very well, or have not at least adapted to some of the alternate ways that games get attention, right? You hear, you guys watch Mighty Teapot at all, you'll hear him say often that it's really frustrating that ANET does not engage more with its streaming community, or that there aren't Twitch drops. Please, ANET, give us Twitch drops, that would be the best. And trying to lure specific content creators to Guild Wars 2. And if you ever needed proof that that actually was going to make a difference, Summit was it. I mean, a single person came to our game, a single streamer came to Guild Wars 2 for a very brief period of time. And among just seeing new people in the chat, seeing the starting zones fill up a little bit more, what we saw was a lot of streamers, including Mighty Teapot, get almost double and sometimes even more the average viewer that was coming in before. And so we don't need any more anecdotal proof to see that that was an enormous spotlight on our game, on our community in general. Everyone knew that it was sort of a big deal. They were afraid of scaring him off. I don't think that anyone really expected Summit to be like, oh my gosh, this is the game I've been missing. I'm gonna stay here forever. I'll play this for life. Like, I knew that wasn't gonna happen, but what I did, the yellow mouse really does just stick on your face. That's hilarious. Yeah. But I knew from the beginning that what we should be doing is trying to take advantage of it while it was there. What it was just a giant magnifying glass on Guild Wars 2 in a game that doesn't magnify itself very often. And it really did work. I mean, even people, what was going to happen is like, he's going to come and play and be like, I like this, I don't like this is dumb. Like, the kind of streamer that Summit is, you know, he's a cool dude. He's an absolutely epic content creator, but I knew that it was going to shine both bad and good on it. However, if you got 30,000 people watching a game, even if Summit goes, this is lame, and then leaves, somebody's gonna go, you know what, I actually liked what I saw, I'm gonna play it for a little while. And we saw that. I wish we had an ANET employee to be able to tell me, you know, like, how many people stuck around, like how big of a boost was that? Because at least on Twitch we could say that it absolutely was. I saw an average of 20 plus viewers go up on like every of the like consistent streamers that we see. And Teapot, who had such an epic interaction with Summit while he was here, skyrocketed, man. And of course he deserves it. I was in Summit's chat, guys. Were you in there that first day? I was screaming, Teapot, you need to talk to Teapot, not this, whoever that random guy was that he was talking to that was getting all sorts of misinformation about the game. But
yeah,
it's big, man. I mean, it was big. It's gone now, but I think that there's momentum that we're working with, and it's great that the game had so many other announcements to make, like Cantha, while we've had some extra people here. You know, it's exciting.
Yeah, you could argue it came at a pretty good time, right? Like, it was a bit of a lull for Guild Wars 2, and then we had a bunch of these events and stuff come out that we'll talk about later. But, you know, it kind of like inserted this boost into the community at the right time to build us up to Cantha and stuff like that. And on top of that, you know, it's obviously shone a light on streamers. And I think we can see, you know, you were questioning, like, it would be nice to have an ANET employee be able to tell us the boost that the game got. But I think equally, from what we've seen with streams, like, people generally watch what they want to play a lot of times, I think. And you can, if we've seen this boost to streamers, I think it's fair to say, like, there was probably a similar boost to the game.
Sure. Yeah, I would expect that that's true. And if you heard my stream while he was here, I was just saying, listen, guys, leave him alone, okay? He's not going to be here for long. He'll probably be here for a few days. But instead of like going to starting zones and annoying Summit, go to starting zones and start welcoming new players. You guys remember when? Oh man, I'm gonna feel really bad because I don't remember what it was. Was it Peon, dude? Was it Lazy Peon? When somebody did like this huge boost for Guild Wars 2, all of a sudden by like doing a review of the game and coming back and it was the game. What? Chat, help me out. What was the MMO that came out that everyone was so hyped about and it failed miserably? The worst release ever. And everyone joked that it served as to be like the best advertisement for Guild Wars 2 that we ever saw. Blast Online. Yeah, thank you. Blast Online. So we saw this happen before, right? And it was an amazing thing to see. I don't know if you guys were around. I don't know if you remember it happening, but I was going to starting zones and not just seeing this enormous influx of brand new players, but I was seeing the best of our community sitting there with the apples over their heads, right? Everyone's got their they're not commander tags, but you know what I mean, the apple tag, just answering questions, welcoming players, and then serving as like this big welcoming committee to all these new people. Mentor tag, and that was huge. That was a big boost for the game, and again, something that we saw a tangible physical impact from, that was not technically caused by anything that Guild Wars 2 or ANET did on purpose. And then we were able to sort of take it and run with it a little bit, and it was nice to see.
Yeah, definitely. And I was hoping similar things would happen with Summit. I feel like just his presence was enough to give us the same kind of boost. But, you know, whenever you have a streamer, there's going to be like that harassment sniping stuff. And I'm not really sure what ANET could have done better in that situation to like curtail that kind of behavior. But I think in the end, we did get a good a good return on, I guess, Teapot's investment. The ambassador. Speaking of which, I
Guild
saw
Wars
you
2
rated
ambassador, bro. Yeah.
Yeah,
Was that what that noise was?
that's what that noise was. That was Teapot rating you.
Yo, Teapot, man. He just came into the chat as we're talking about him, man. The mightiest of Teapots. Listen, all of us streamers, we all know each other. We interact, we collaborate, especially in DL, delusional elitists. But this experience, I think, like I said, the interaction with Summit and how that ended up being a positive one is so impacted by Mighty Teapot. I think he does more for the community and for the game than people realize. I know, at least for my stream as well. So it's big, dude. This is exactly what I think DL is about, is getting people together and sort of looking past themselves and just trying to do what's best for the game and for the community. At the end of the day, guys, we're playing an MMO, one of many. We all love this game, and this game is small. This is actually a small game. Like, our impact on the community, on the success of the game is measurable. It's not World of Warcraft, it's not like you can only impact this game if you're Asmongold. When people come to the game and see positive things, they see positive community interaction, and that kind of stuff. It makes a big difference. It's going to make a lasting difference.
So on that note, though, do you think that the new player experience is like in an acceptable state, or is there things that need to be changed to improve it? Like, personally, obviously Summit's a very like PvP driven person, so his new player experience is going to be drastically different than a lot of other players.
Yeah,
and it was on top of the streaming thing, being getting sniped and all that. But I still have my concerns that perhaps some of the the older content is not obviously it's still very like, if you look at like, and we'll get into like the other MMOs later, but other MMOs really have we've been playing WoW, New World, stuff like that. The intro can be some of the hardest to get over the hump, right? Yeah. Guild Wars 2, it throws this epic story with fully voice acted right in your face, and it's phenomenal. But if the story doesn't catch you, do you think that it's a deadpan, it just falls out underneath you if you're not interested in the story, right?
I mean, that's a really good question, and I think that like, introduction to an MMO, like your very first steps into a world, is such an important aspect of it, right? We can all say fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows. Fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows. Wow, that is still so loud. Thank you.
Is there more fluffy unicorns around his face than there was before, or? Guys,
we're gonna have like another topic about this at the end of the stream, because I have a lot more to say about it. But yeah, mainly the Junie's a huge bully, and none of this is my fault. I know that it might look like I'm asking for it when you're staring at the back of my character right now, and it's not going anywhere. Here, I'll just zoom in. Okay, so yes, the introduction to a world in an MMO is maybe the most important step of the entire game. It has to be able to catch that player right off the bat. It's not just story involvement, but the way that the combat evolves, the way that the where the game drops you in and how quickly you're caught. I do really love that Guild Wars 2 is fully voice acted in its cutscenes, right? Like, in the way that it introduces the story, it's really good. I've recently played a bunch of other MMOs. We played ESO, we played World of Warcraft, we played New World this last week. So I get to see how the different games do it. The fact that PvP and Worldview World are alternative ways to not just play the game, but also to level. Like, I think most of us felt, at least I'll just say most of us in the PvE corner of the world, found ourselves like, oh, Summit, don't quit just because you got wrecked by a bunch of like tryhards in PvP trying to stream snipe you. Go and play the actual game, like go do a story, go do get up there and do a fractal, do some of the stuff that we know that's good, that's later in the game. But I do feel like I want to give credit where credit's due, because I don't know if you guys watched the stream yesterday, I made my very first brand new character for the first time in years, really, that I actually leveled up. And so I'm in Metrica Province doing this hardcore playthrough, sort of enjoying the just the regular introduction to the game. And I think it's really solid. I genuinely do. I think compared to other games, the questing system is open and free. The stories are engaged and consistent. There's a lot of things for veteran players to complain about with Guild Wars 2, and they're all valid. But when I hear a veteran, jaded, grumpy player who's been playing the game for forever that's like, there's no content. When they say that to a brand new player who's coming in on Reddit thinking like, should I play Guild Wars 2? Should I try it? The truth is that they're robbing that player of what I think is a really good experience. You've got a solid, at least years worth of content to go through, and I'm jealous of players who get to come to the game now and play it for the first time. I don't know if you guys can remember the first character you ever leveled. I loved this game. I mean, the whole experience was rewarding and fun. You unlock new stuff as you go really consistently, and it's exciting to play around with the systems that you're handed. So I think it's done well.
Yeah, for sure. We've been playing some New World recently, obviously, like you said, and some WoW. And the intro, especially like the story, just does not grab you. WoW's different, obviously, but WoW's story tends to grab people. But New World, for sure, like the setting was so interesting and so different from anything else that any other MMO has. But then getting into the actual story, it was impossible for me. Like the wall of text was so uninteresting and could not provide any context to what was really going on. And you, who actually like read all of it line for line, also kind of felt similarly, right?
I did. In fact, I want to stop you there and replay what you said a moment ago. Did you say that people do get into the story of WoW? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys are big. I mean, even me, who hasn't played WoW, right? Like just a little bit. I know more about the story of WoW than I think I'll ever know about New World. Even like going forward with New World, right? Like,
yeah, and I agree with you in the fact that World of Warcraft accomplishes something that no other MMO could even dream of coming close to. First of all, the game's been around for 15 years, something like that, some ridiculous amount of time. The franchise has been around for much longer. Warcraft 1, 2, and 3 have been building a story since before some of the people in this chat were even born. There's been numerous seemingly hundreds of novels filling out the story for all this stuff, and the raid content at the end does play through story that feels tangible. However, since we are specifically talking about like the new player experience in World of Warcraft, I think that the story is the most far removed from the player in World of Warcraft than it is in any other MMO that we could discuss. Like you said, there's giant bricks of text from the very beginning that have nothing to do with the overarching story of the game. Like before you get to what you feel like is an overarching world story experience, it's like, Zitans is about to destroy Tyria. Like we know that from the very beginning of the game, right? Or at least like an engaging story that has you following along from the very beginning. Nothing is following you along in the Barrens, or when you're first making a character in Elwyn Forest or whatever. You're like, I'm gonna go and kill some scarecrows. I mean, it's so what have you done?
Ars dared me to poke you on camera.
Okay, well, she's got a very long arm. We're actually that far apart in real life. This is about a 12-foot gap, and she managed it. So that was pretty impressive.
Well, your arm is showing up in my camera, so we're all good there.
Yeah.
So
now quote cryptic. I can't quote cryptic. But I mean, like, so I do agree with what you're saying. I think like giant bricks of text with no voice acting can be discouraging for players, or at least have facilitated this consistent trend of MMO players just ignoring all story, right? Like you're not judging the game by its story anymore. Most players who come from WoW are just used to skipping everything, and that's just sort of a big part of the experience in the game, and that sucks. I mean, I don't think that that's actually great. So if that's the way the storytelling is going to go in New World, where it's again giant bricks of text and they're not really saying anything, right? Because we just did that whole playthrough of it the other day, and there's no tangible story really to speak of. So
yeah,
you have Starbucks and I don't.
You do have Starbucks. Look to your left.
Oh my gosh, I do have Starbucks. You didn't tell me.
Oh, it's not cauliflower, it's Starbucks.
Oh, no. Hold on. Wait 1 second. So I didn't want to interrupt because this was an amazing, in-depth, incredible discussion. I didn't want to, split it up for everybody listening. But, Marek, there is a lot of cauliflower in the front of the door now. Like, there is so much. I brought up as much as I could carry.
Real life cauliflower?
Yes, but I only could bring up like 3 bags. This stuff is heavy.
Who
So
has done
here,
this?
I'm delivering this to you right now.
Enko. Someone throw something at Enko. Where's Enko? No Enko!
Oh my, that's a lot of cauliflower. And is that just what you managed to bring up, Judy?
This is just what I managed to bring up the staircase. There's more.
Oh
Mary,
my goodness.
take this.
Enko? No, there's not more than this!
Yes! The iceberg.
This is just what she's managed to bring up the stairs too. So there's more of this waiting outside for you.
Are you okay there, Mary?
What am I supposed to do with this? I don't even like cauliflower!
Well, start opening it. Start opening it. Is it actually all cauliflower, or is there something else in there?
Cabbages?
I'm gonna guess that it's all cauliflower. I'm just gonna guess that this is all cauliflower. Enko? The caul-apocalypse is supposed to be a virtual experience. How did you get real life cauliflower to my house?
They put water bottles in this bag, maybe to keep the cauliflower cold?
Free water bottles?
So sorry to interrupt the
No worries.
the podcast. You keep going. We're fine. We're fine.
Seems like you've got a bit of an issue on your hand.
This is fine. I'm just gonna keep this here. I'm just gonna keep this here with me.
We'll go off topic for a little bit. What do you actually plan on doing with all this cauliflower? I mean, I feel like at this point, donating it might be the best solution because I don't think you could eat all that.
I don't even eat cauliflower. I'm not even
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
broccoli.
Clearly, now you do eat cauliflower.
All right. That's enough. I'm counting the cauliflower. They can't even see me now. Okay. Okay.
And there's more of this downstairs, right, Junie?
Oh yes, there's so much of this.
Enko!
Oh,
I'm gonna get you back somehow someday. So anyway, about MMOs.
About MMOs. So yeah, I mean, we were talking about New World with the wall of text. I really hope that they realize that not only is that like a dated way of telling story, but like you mentioned, like if an MMO doesn't have a story or the story is lackluster or not presented in a great way, people, a good portion of people probably won't judge the MMO on the story itself. They're more concerned about the gameplay and the end game and stuff like that. I feel like we've gotten to the point, and Guild Wars is a huge reason of that, but like ESO as well, that story is a pivotal part of an MMO, right? Like, and WoW with new expansions, like story is a big part of that. I'd be very, I would judge New World incredibly harshly if this is the story that they roll out with. And so I think they know that, right? Like, it was announced recently that New World was delayed till 2021. I think like mid 2021 or something.
Which I think most people were kind of happy about, that they were going to take some extra time.
Oh yeah, I would rather it be delayed like 2 years, honestly. Like, there's so many things that we talked about. Like the combat felt very clunky, right? The story was lackluster. Just the movement felt like you were a stick figure being puppeted throughout the world, right? It did not. And there were so many great things to look forward to. The setting expanding into like a more, which it already looked fantastic, but expanding into like a more, for lack of a better term, New World, like exploration kind of thing, colonialization kind of thing. But yeah, I feel like there's still a lot to be desired, and I'm even concerned that even if they do fix the issues, I think it'll be a success if they fix the issues. I'm concerned that because of the delay, it may be too late for New World to be the next leading MMO, right? Like, they may be in the background behind I mean, maybe not behind Guild Wars 2, but behind, WoW, which is always going to be a staple. And if you've heard, Ashes of the Creation, which is coming out soon.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype around that as well.
Yeah, a lot of hype. And they are, if you've seen in their beta, they are doing a only visual NDA. So anything that you see and do and play in the beta, you can talk about with anyone.
The cauliflower pulled out Marek's headphones. One moment.
Oh no. Has the cauliflower meme gone too far at this point?
I don't know. What do you think,
Much
Chad?
too far. The meme has crossed into reality, guys. This is too extreme. It's too extreme.
What is that mail, Marek?
The Collie-pocalypse is here. Collie-pocalypse.
I am so
Anyway.
scared.
Yeah.
Is that one of Enko's like 25 accounts?
I'm not gonna open anymore. Okay, wait. So I do agree with you. I think there are some elements of New World that could use to be improved, and I'm glad that they're taking the time. I should say that immediately. My take on that game so far is that it has a lot of things to work with. I'm gratified that I actually have the ability to play it when it comes out. That we have pre-ordered the game. I will be trying it. You spoke a little bit about some of the things that I think are incredible about it. I love its setting, first of all. If you guys have not already seen the setting of New World, it is jaw-dropping. I think the atmosphere, the immersion, the color use. I was talking with Mela about this the other day, that the richness of style and color are similar in a way to Guild Wars 2, that it's really thematic in a way that might age well. Like Guild Wars 2 does not have great graphics. It's not like you're falling out of your chair impressed with the way the Guild Wars 2 looks, but it's so colorful and stylized in such a cohesive way that it feels like stylistic choices rather than it's been upgraded or downgraded or it's been outdated. And that's something that's really important, I think, for Guild Wars 2. I got a similar feeling from New World, and its world that you play through is so immersive that I think I can forgive a lot of other things. Like, I wasn't really caring about the story so much as I was running through the forest, just baffled by the size and scope of the forest itself, the size of the trees, the depth of the foliage, and harvesting all the stuff from it. I saw people chopping down trees that were actually falling. That's incredibly cool. So,
and the resource, like people complain in MMOs, like Guild Wars has kind of fixed that issue in a lot of MMOs where the things you loot, the resources you get are yours only, and you take them and you take them from other players, so you get it and now they can no longer do it. I feel like it actually. New World has found a way to take that, which was a problem that seemed like very few MMOs had solved, and not made it in a way that it doesn't need to be solved. Like, seeing that tree fall down and it being gone, at least for a short period of time, is actually really awesome, right? You don't feel like you've been robbed. You feel like, oh, look, that guy just harvested a tree. That's awesome.
Yeah, it actually blew my mind. I was sitting inside of a town. I looked out. I was actually telling the stream, look at this landscape. Look how beautiful this is. And I watched one of the trees fall. From somebody chopping it. That was an incredibly cool and immersive experience. I love that. Also, I think the setting that they chose is a bold one. If you guys have not already played New World, I think I was stunned when I got in there to find that there was magic and wizards and zombies and things that you would experience in a fantastical MMO, because I was expecting it to be truly real. And the reason why I think I was so shocked at that was because I've never seen a game with wizards and magic systems set in an environment that is not
fantasy.
Medieval fantasy. Fantasy. So what this game is set in is more along the lines of what you would expect John Smith and Pocahontas to be around.
Yeah.
Which was an altogether different feel, a very specific environment that we're all sort of, we recognize it. And like the log forts and stuff that you're coming up to, like, it feels really cool. But I've never seen the game like that. Do you expect me to keep? Do you want me to juggle it on stream? I can't hold any more of this.
It feels like it's multiplying.
So stop handing them to me. I can't take them. So yeah, I think it's got a lot going for it. My real concern, and I brought this up before, is the combat system. I like it in that I believe that the MMO genre as a whole has been desperately trying to move towards a more action-oriented system, right? We want it to be more action-based. We're not so happy with tab targeting. I think, like, for a long time, we felt really goofy about the fact that if there's a whole clump of mobs in front of me and I swing my sword, somehow I only hit the one that I'm targeting, right? Even though it's directly in front of me with a pile of other things. Or, like in World of Warcraft, if someone completes a fireball from like 100 yards away, and the fireball is coming towards you, but you jump off a cliff, and then you teleport across the world to Orgrimmar, and then you hide underneath a boat so that no one can see you. It doesn't matter. The fireball's still going to hit you. It's like the actual traveling of the fireball is a formality. It's already decided that it's going to hit you. So Guild Wars 2 has been really good at sort of combining what has always worked about tab targeting combat systems and action-oriented combat. However, when you get into things like and that's a huge compliment to Guild Wars 2, actually. I think Guild Wars 2 has my favorite combat I've ever come across in an MMO.
Without a doubt.
It's just impossible. Like, it's so hard. I keep going to other games. I'm like, oh, I like this about this MMO. I like this about this one. But I always come back to Guild Wars 2 because of the combat.
Yeah, and in WoW, we've been playing that recently, and there's a lot of things I like about WoW that I never, when I played it the first time, I never thought I'd like. But the thing that made me stop playing WoW, just those first few levels back then, that I still don't like about it now is the combat. So Guild Wars 2 by far, after playing Guild Wars 2, it's so hard to go to any other MMO. And I like that New World is doing that same kind of combat, or similar at least, that, action-oriented combat. I just was really hoping, and I know you haven't played this game, Merrick. I'm not sure if you actually even know what it is, but there's a single-player game, kind of like, a Skyrim kind of thing, but it has the exact same setting as New World, almost carbon copy. It's been out for a while. It's called Greedfall. I'm sure the chat knows about it. It is, obviously it's single-player, but it's it's incredibly similar to New World. The only difference I would say is that, other than it being single player, is that the action combat flows so much better. And I was really hoping New World is just going to be the multiplayer version of this with, building towns and, PvP and stuff like that. And I don't know, do you feel like if they tuned up the combat to be a little more spry, to be a little more responsive, and made movement a little more forgiving, that would solve the problems, or is there a more deep-seated gameplay issue here with the way the combat works?
I mean, that's a good question. I want to say that when you get farther away from tab targeting and closer to what I think people immediately attach this to, which is like Dark Souls, right? Like Dark Souls combat. Yeah. Whenever you get into really action-oriented stuff, the absolute enemy of that system are animation locks. The inability to react as fast as you want to becomes really frustrating, even if there's a good reason for it. Even if you're like, oh, you just did a thrust and now you're screwed, you have to just finish that thrust until you can block or dodge. Even if that system gets to a point where you're used to it, what it elicits in you is frustration, right? You're like, the mob is coming to hit you and you are stuck. You can't move, you're hitting block, you're hitting dodge, nothing's happening, and so you're kind of stuck. I experienced some of that, which is incredibly frustrating, and that would go a long way to fixing it. The other thing is positioning and targeting. You have skills that are supposed to cleave, you have skills that, or wanting to get everyone in front of you so that you can hit multiple targets, and sort of getting your character to turn the way that you want to, face the way that you want to while you're doing these multi-hit things. Especially with me, I was using that enormous hammer. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
I had these huge cleave abilities I wanted to use, but I very rarely was able to position myself in a way that could actually hit everything, and that was really frustrating. So the last thing you want, it's one thing to have combat be boring, and at the risk of pissing off a bunch of people, there are some combat systems that are pretty boring in modern day MMOs. I won't name any, but it's a whole other thing for it to be frustrating. And we do experience some of that in games like Dark Souls, where you're like so mad, right? But in an MMO, when I was just getting started, I'm trying to appreciate the new things about this game. Really excited to see what the combat is like, especially a PvP atmosphere, which is what this game is going to be pushing, right? It left me amazed with the world, just in awe of the atmosphere and immersion, and actually genuinely concerned for it because of the combat. So we'll see. I think as you level up, you get new skills, you get traits and things. Like, obviously, it's an evolving system. And again, everyone should know that this is a game in alpha, basically, right? It's not even open beta yet. So it's there's a lot of exciting things to come, I think, but those are my worries. Those are my actual concerns.
Yeah, and I guess one last thing on New World before we take it back to Guild Wars. What do you think they need to do marketing-wise to make it a success, especially now that it's been delayed? Like, you know, we were talking about like how ArenaNet has failed in the area of marketing and community contribution and stuff like that. Obviously, New World is a new game, but I feel like, again, to bring it to Ashes of Creation, I just found out about Ashes of Creation, by the way. I'm not like a big fan of it. But Lazy Peon did a video on it, kind of comparing Ashes of Creation and like what other companies are doing and stuff. And it really does seem like their openness, obviously it started as a Kickstarter, so they kind of had to go that direction, but their openness has made their company and their game a lot more relatable, as opposed to New World being, you know, Amazon, this big corporation. If they don't start doing some reach out, it could very well end up being like, you know, the next EA game that nobody wants to play.
I do believe that it being Amazon helps it in the way that it gets the money, but hurts it in the way that we look at it, right? Like when I heard that it was an Amazon game, that shaped my expectations of it. It really did. I was like, oh, well, then you have unlimited money. Let's see what you can do. I think I expected absolute perfection. It's hard not to be swayed by the fact that it's a major production company that's backing this thing. So there is that. But if you want to know what I think they could do and should do, especially in light of them having to push the game back, what they just did was actually great, and they should be doing more of those things. I think this was great. Even us in Guild Wars 2, right? Like, we have a very insular community here in Guild Wars 2. We all know each other. It's very small knit, or close knit, small. People know what's going on. But the fact that New World did this sort of kicked down the door in our little community and said, hey, do you guys want to talk about New World? And it was because they came out with this big thing. They allowed everyone not just to play it, but to stream it. That allows for the kind of advertising for the game that I was talking about. Interaction with content creators, interaction with the internet as a whole, the actual players, the player base that could be potentially playing your game. They're going to watch streamers like this. And so my only real frustration was that I couldn't have OBS capture the window. It was like they were trying to make it not streamable for some reason. I had to capture the whole display. So it was a little clunky in that way to try to do it in that regard. But here we are, diehard Guild Wars 2 players.
Oh, one question
sitting
from
here talking
ours.
about this.
One question from ours before we leave New World. Ours said it's made by Amazon. Why don't they have infinite money to make this the most amazing thing ever? And Underdark also said, wonder if New World will come to Prime Gaming.
Yeah, it does make you wonder that. So I think what people have realized at some point is that MMOs as a genre, as a game type, are incredibly expensive to make. They take a long time and a lot of people. But while that is the case, it is not always money that decides a good MMO or not, right? Like even though the blueprint for an MMO is probably the most well-established blueprint of any genre that's ever existed, right? I mean, like for a long time in the very beginning, MMOs came out and they were so similar to each other that everything that an MMO could do to try to make itself stand out or to sell itself was to try to somehow be different, radically different. Even if they weren't improving something, they were just trying to be different from the blueprint.
Yeah, even I remember those days.
Exactly. So like they were like, hey, we're gonna do this totally different, and they're like, we had to go through this sort of era where games were fixing it even though it wasn't broken, you know. And so nowadays I think we're sort of coming to a balance with that, is in a better place. But just because you have a ton of money and a really well-established blueprint, it doesn't always mean that the game is going to come out good. There's so many other factors to it. MMOs are a giant financial risk. They're really not really, they're not a good investment from an investment side of things. They're very expensive. They take a huge amount of time to do, and they're likely to fail. The ones that succeed make a lot of money, and there's some longevity to it, but those are so few and far between that it's an enormous gamble to even make these in the first place.
Yeah, and I would say to add on to that, like in my experience, one of the biggest dangers in my experience is software development, but in development in general, and I think it's especially so with game development, is the sunk cost fallacy, and that is like triple the case with MMOs, right? And Amazon, we've seen in the past, is, at least with their game development, is really on top of cutting off the sunk cost fallacy. They do not mess about. They've canceled 2 games already, like one that was just about to release, and then one that was in the works. Just like, nope, we're done with it. We're not bothering. So I can
Blizzard does the same thing. It's the same kind of thing.
Exactly. And that's good on them. Like, that shows a company like actually being mindful of their expenditure and their expenses, despite having infinite money. But I think that would be like one of the best answers to what Ars was asking about New World, like why they can't just continue to. You will find very quickly in development that there is some point at which more money will not solve the problems you're having. So it doesn't matter how much you throw at a problem. Eventually, it's going to be a technical or a pure development side that has to resolve this, and that nothing else you'll do.
In some cases, not even extra time. Unlimited time and money cannot take a dead-end project and fix it. One of the best examples of this ever, and I'm sure a lot of you are thinking this as we're talking about it, was Overwatch. This was a game that was Blizzard, right? Blizzard has unlimited money, especially at the time it was making Overwatch, right? Like, nothing was in question about Blizzard at that time. They had all of the resources, all of the best developers, all of the best artists making what should have been the most amazing game ever. And they had, and it's Blizzard, so we were just talking about it. They don't mind telling everyone, sorry guys, it's going to be ready when it's ready. They don't even have an idea of when it's going to be ready. They don't need to tell you it. They would wait the amount of time until it was done, and they had the resources to get away with it. And even still, right before that game was coming to fruition, they were like, you know what guys, beautiful game, awesome world, but the game's not fun. It just isn't coming together the way that we wanted to. It's not fun. We're scrapping the whole thing. And they wasted all of that, but then turned that into Overwatch, right? They took the resources from it and put it into a different game. But that's a great example of it. If you, even with all the money in the world and all the time, you can have it go all the way to the end and then still not come to fruition and be absolutely screwed. So,
and if anyone chat's wondering what Merrick's talking about, originally Overwatch was designed to be an MMO. It was supposed to be not necessarily the replacement to WoW, but like, the next big Blizzard MMO. And it was a absolute disaster. And if you're curious more about the details about it, so we don't spend too much time on it here, I think, was it, what's the gaming company? Not IGN. One of the other big gaming journalisms, if you just Google it or type it into YouTube, they did a whole documentary series on it. So it's like a 2 or 3 parter. It's like over an hour long, where they interview all the devs and stuff, and they just talk about why did Overwatch fail as an MMO. There's a lot of really interesting things in there.
Also, Darkbringer had mentioned in chat, in engineering in general. Hi, Darkbringer. Ramping up a team takes a lot of work and resources over time. So, doubling your money, you're looking to double a team size, but that means a whole half of your team is new, coming in, learning the vision, etc. Which, it's true.
Yeah, keeping it cohesive between an entire team of people, right? Doubling a team can be really scary. It can take things in a direction you're not wanting to. And in the case of ArenaNet, also having a team, halving a team, taking half of the team away can also be really detrimental. So we've seen a lot of things happen to various game developing companies over the years that have really impacted their games. And sometimes things just don't come to be. In fact, I could just do an entire TED Talk on the MMO genre in general being such an interesting market to begin with. Unlike every other video game in the world, right? If I'm like, hey, are you gonna play Mario Party or Zelda? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What am I going to play? I'm just going to buy them both. I bought my system. I'll buy both games. But the really interesting thing about the marketplace for MMOs is that unlike most other games, 95% of players who play an MMO play one at a time. We're basically vying for a small section of gamers out there who love to play MMOs, right? There are the outliers. There's like Star Trek Online that's played by fans of Star Trek, not MMO players. There's Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic who are played by Star Wars fans who will not necessarily go and play the next new MMO. They're not MMO gamers. They just like that franchise. But for the most part, 95% of MMO players are MMO players, and they hop from game to game, but they only play one at a time. So every time a new game comes out, it's quite literally directly stealing or trying to steal from the pool of games that already exists. We're getting new MMO players out there. Sure, they're adding some as new people find the genre, but for the most part, unlike most other games, there's a specific size pie that each game is taking from. So when one fails, another one succeeds, and when one succeeds, it draws from another. So it really does shape the way that game development happens, game marketing happens for the genre in general, which makes it really interesting. When a new game like this comes out, right, New World, we're like, oh, this is really exciting. And it took some attention off of our game, and I'm sure a lot of other games, to look at New World for this week that it was here. And then we're going to see everybody come back to it. And then the big question is going to be what happens when it comes out. And so these are things that I think game developers have to think about. And it's a fascinating world of marketing that we live in with MMOs.
What do you think about Knight put in chat that the general population isn't necessarily into MMOs, and the fact about instant gratification and instant satisfaction and things like Fortnite and other battle royale games for kids, that is going to give them that a lot more. MMORPGs are far from instant satisfaction. So if you are a new company, you probably don't want to invest that much into an MMORPG these days.
Or
what do you think about that and how long it actually takes? Like, this is long-term commitment and futuristic satisfaction when you level up. Like, how can an MMO combat that?
So that's an excellently worded question. Actually, that's really, really good. And so what my take on that is that you're absolutely right. Games these days are really based on a lot of instant gratification. But when you're comparing that to MMOs, that actually makes it seem as though MMOs are separate from that debate, which I do not believe they are. MMOs, as they come out now, new updates for them, new games that come out, are actually entirely built around that instant gratification. Our genre of game is being directly impacted by that, even though we are not Fortnite or whatever, anything like that. Our actual game, our genre, our blueprint, as I was talking about earlier, has been drastically impacted by the up-and-coming gamers' expectation of instant gratification. And Guild Wars 2 is not an exception. Guild Wars 2 has been out for 8 years, right? We're just celebrating our 8-year anniversary, which is fantastic. But this game is so much more instant gratification than the games before it. And you look at the trend of how our genre has evolved, the time investment versus reward has changed drastically and consistently in one direction. Much less investment, much bigger reward. And what that has done is, and this is probably a good analogy for many things in life and how this has come to be, but the reward means less, right? Like, we all want a legendary, that's cool and all, but like, when you see one, you're like, oh my gosh, that person got that. That's great. Like, the games before this, the way that the genre experienced reward prior to this is huge. It was totally different before. The game would make you really work. Like I said, I started back in EverQuest, and like way back at the very beginning, the amount of effort it took just to get maximum level garnered you a level of respect. I mean, you really max level. People actually got respect from other gamers. If you had the big item, if you were able to raid, all these things were huge accomplishments. And I think that it's a really big trade-off that we as a genre are struggling with when we want everything and then we get it all and then realize none of that really we had to work for, which then makes it feel like, what is even the point? Like, we all complain. We want this, we want that, we want all these things. But then all of the hardcores among us, right, who wanted all the things, now we're like, wow, this game's too easy. Not enough challenge. We want harder modes and we want bigger rewards. We find ourselves wanting what we all asked to have removed. So it's, I think we're at like a really interesting apex, this sort of pinnacle of this debate in MMOs. So we're going to have to decide which direction the genre goes in.
Yeah, I would also say like the two biggest genres that MMOs are being influenced by right now are instant gratification games like Fortnite and MMOs, right? Or not mobile games. Those are the two biggest genres that are influencing MMOs currently. We're seeing more cash apps being installed in MMOs and stuff like that, and more instant gratification mechanics and stuff like that. But I think all MMOs are still keeping the all-important, like the thing that empowers the majority of like MMOs and loot-based games, the carrot on the stick, right? And I think it's, despite the success of games like Fortnite and stuff, I think it is unfair to underestimate that, because we've seen even in games like Fortnite, like they have like a season pass, right? You've got your carrot on the stick, keep playing, you'll get, this nice shiny thing at the end of the battle pass or whatever, right? And I think that, obviously all art is derivative, so people are taking inspiration from everywhere. But carrot on a stick is a tried and true method that I think will continue to carry MMOs as long as they continue to pull good ideas, and some of them bad ideas, but good ideas from these other successful games and genres that we see.
Yeah, it's all about getting the balance right? Like you have to, it has to be a meaningful carrot. It has to be an achievable carrot, but it also has to be a meaningful one. We have to care about it.
Lots of cauliflower is the
or cauliflower. Yeah.
But how? I have a question. But how do you balance that? Because you have a lot of different players, right, playing your game, and some of them are going to be frustrated more easily. Some of them are going to be capable of doing something more so than someone else. Somebody will be able to put in the time more. So even just the way, like a job ideally is something that's challenging, but not so hard that you're constantly hitting your head against a wall.
Oh, you mean EVE Online?
So there are games that are like that. Yeah, there are games that are incredibly difficult, and that's going to turn people away. I think that's probably the biggest argument that MMOs have for being the way that they are now. Like, there's a lot of us who feel like an MMO, a game with a bigger challenge, but also bigger rewards for those willing to meet that challenge, is something that a lot of us miss or would desire. But for an MMO itself, from a purely marketing standpoint, and we talked earlier about why that's important, right? Because the games are a big risk. They're oftentimes not successful. They're oftentimes not monetarily rewarding, right? That's a big investment and a big gamble, and they could lose it. So they really have to, it's bred a mentality of casting the widest net, right? Like they have to be able to grab the biggest amount of that pie I was talking about. And so the biggest amount is a more casual player, and the more casual player is okay with, I only want to play in like an hour a day, 45 minutes a day, maybe 2 hours every other day. And I want that amount of effort that I put in to be cumulative, so that I will get the reward eventually. But what really makes it a difference is that same player says, I want every reward. I want every reward to be accomplished in that way. And so it's a difficult thing. Like Guild Wars 2, and I say this on stream all the time, you guys have heard me say it. Guild Wars 2 is a very casual MMO. We have an incredibly casual player base. That is not a bad thing. I think it's actually, it's really cool that games like this exist. I miss games that had rewards for people who put more time in. You guys have watched me raid time and time again, right? I stream raids like every day. I've been raiding for years and years. I have every accomplishment that you can get within the raid scene long since done. So why am I still doing it? I don't know. It's not like in World of Warcraft or EverQuest or like older games that had what was that one game? Had like the hardest rating in it I've ever seen. It was like the most, they just shut it down. WildStar. Woo!
Oh,
the rating in WildStar. So there were games that were like that, right? But like in Guild Wars 2, the hardest content in the game, which is supposed to be raids, right? Like we a single group can clear every raid boss in the entire game in 4 hours, right? That's a fully reasonable expectation to be able to do for the hardcore base. And they can do that every single day. Whereas that kind of content was gated behind real progression in other games of the past, EverQuest and WildStar and even Final Fantasy 14, right? And World of Warcraft. My problem is that, so here's one of my biggest problems. Rating should exist, hard content should exist. Content that only people who put a lot of effort in should be able to get to. That should exist. The problem I think that some people have with games like World of Warcraft is it's not just the best gear or the coolest skins that are locked behind that skill wall, that skill barrier, or time investment barrier, but the story itself is locked behind that same barrier, right? If you get the new expansion, I'll talk about old stuff so people know what I'm talking about. Wrath of the Lich King comes out, right? Northrend, we're all going to Northrend. Arthas has come to take over. Now we're gonna have a big story. You don't have to raid to get that big story. You can play through the whole thing and that's great. But if you want to kill Arthas, right? If you want the culmination, if you want the finishing touch of that story, where the big cinematic comes and you're the one who ends the, you know, the giant thing, Zaitan is killed in a single player instance at the end of the story. The big bad guy, right? Slain by yourself at the end of a story instance. But in WoW, in order to slay Zaitan, which in this instance is Arthas, requires a full 25-man raid of like serious grizzled badasses to go in there and take him down, and then you get the giant story like you would normally. Yeah, Night of Dark. Spoiler alert. Yeah. If you guys don't know that Arthas is dead, I'm sorry.
You were talking about Zaitan.
Thank you, Ginger Nation. Subscribe with the Prime for 3 months. Thank you.
Thank you so much, bro. Really appreciate that. So I think what changes is that the community itself really likes that about Guild Wars 2, in that you can do all the story, all of this cool stuff, and raids are encapsulated, not just in their story, but literally in the world. They're shoved in a tiny little zone, a little corner of Lion's Arch that you don't ever have to see if you're not a raider.
It hasn't been updated. Still looks the same.
Yes, please, ANET, please. We've been unpacking those same boxes for like 5 years, please. The boxes should be open. We should be fully in effect now.
Oh, CV Dazzle said another factor is the progression system in Guild Wars having a hard cap. You have to actively set goals for yourself and find content that you enjoy to get the most out of the game once you get maxed armor, which doesn't take too long. In games that continually raise the level cap or use gear grind, etc., there's a very clear objective for players to latch onto.
You are so right about that. In fact, Mighty Teapot, I heard him talk about this the other day and was really great. He said that there's no vertical progression in Guild Wars 2, right? You get to that cap, you get to where the progression is ended really early. And you can do that by doing anything in the game. You can get full ascended gear from PvP, you can get ascendants from open world, you can get it from fractals, raids, world v world, anything you want to do. And now that's the essence of a theme park MMO, right? That's actually a positive thing. But once you hit that cap, every other bit of progression is a lateral progression. It's horizontal progression. You have to set goals for yourself that are not going to increase your efficacy, unless you, like me, consider Fashion Wars to be a true DPS increase. That's get all the DPS increase from your Fashion Wars.
I heard your Brony cosplay was like 39K.
Thank you, Ginger Nation. Yes, yeah. That's why I'm such a good DPS. It's because of my my outfit. So you have to either set goals for yourself that are like, you know, cosmetic or thematic or role playing or whatever. There's goals for you, and then there's also on the other side of that sort of lateral progression is skill. And I think that's where Guild Wars 2 really comes in and really shines, right? I talk a lot about the things that Guild Wars 2 could use to improve, but there are certain things about this game that are stunningly amazing. Take World of Warcraft, right? If you take a fire mage that is really good, and he's like the best fire mage ever in a raid, doing his rotation, right? How good of a DPS are you? And then you take like a mediocre average, you know, I learned it like a couple of weeks ago and I've been started raiding. The fire mage that's an absolute you know, badass is going to get better damage than the mediocre one. But not that much, right? Like, it's not that much. In Guild Wars 2, the combat system, the elegance of the combat system is such that you could just keep putting more and more and more effort, more practice. You're not going to see people sitting in front of the target dummy practicing their fire mage rotation in WoW for like weeks and weeks at a time. Like, why would you do that? In Guild Wars 2, you literally will. You will see people. I mean, you guys have seen me, you've seen Cryptic, people that like live in the SFTA working on rotations because there's always room to improve. The beauty of Guild Wars 2 is that if you do improve, the game will reward you. You are gonna look that much better than the guy that didn't put the time in the SFTA, right? The guy who wasn't practicing, the guy who doesn't raid every day. When you go through the game in general in Guild Wars 2, anything works. Any build is fine. People come into our streams all the time and they ask like, hey, what do you recommend for open world? It's like, well, there are things that are really good for open world, but to be perfectly honest, anything's gonna be fine. And then you have other people who have never raided or done high-end fractals or whatever, and they say, oh, I got the best build, this is the best, this is what works and it's so good. And then you realize like, no, that's kind of a really goofy build that you're talking about. There's much better than that.
Yeah,
So,
the game, sorry, good.
But once you get from open world into raiding, you realize that the entire time that you've been playing this game, even though the floor is here and you've been here and it's been working fine, you've been killing everything, you didn't realize that the ceiling for efficiency, the ceiling for how good you could be is like way up here. Like, you had no clue that the ceiling was so high. And so it takes you a while to adjust to that. And that's actually one of the most beautiful things about this game, that kind of progression can be personal. It can be skill based, and that's not true in every MMO.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Guild Wars 2 deserves all the credit in the world for the combat and that skill-based progression that you were talking about. Whether the real question for me though is it the game that is showing it, because the game is facilitating it, but how much is it that like Arc DPS, the things that ArenaNet has refused to provide us, that is really what's showing the skill gap and the progression there? Like, ArenaNet doesn't seem to be fond of advertising people's skill differences, and I think that's one reason why people are, I mean, obviously open world is a lot different, but it's one reason why people are so shocked when they get into raids and see, whoa, look at this huge skill gap that I never knew existed, because there's nothing in the game to show it to you. It fully facilitates it, but nothing really lets you know.
Yeah, that's certainly true. And I think, again, that speaks to ArenaNet knowing its player base, right? I spoke a moment ago about the game itself being incredibly casual, and most people don't really want to have to be confronted with their efficacy. You know, like, sometimes you like, here's a great example. This is a great example of this. I am a hardcore Guild Wars 2 raider. Not so much anymore, but I've done every boss, every CM. I used to raid like I was in like 6 statics at the same time. I raided every day of the week. Really into it. Spent all my time in the SFTA when I wasn't raiding, trying to perfect my DPS rotations. But here I go to ESO, and I go to World of Warcraft, and I'm playing WoW on the side right now. We're just playing it casually. I have gone out of my way to not look up the meta build. I've not tried to. What is this? What's happening?
Darkbreaker said, why isn't the required cauliflower on Merrick's camera?
Well, here it is. I'll just stand here like Shakespeare. To be or not to be? Cauliflower is the question. Even somebody who raised like that, I've gone through the game now as I'm introducing myself to these other MMOs, not wanting to spoil it for myself. Like, there's a progression for me. While I level up, I'm gonna play it in that way. I'm gonna be that filthy casual, as people say, right? I don't want to be confronted with my inefficiency yet. I don't want people to say, you've made all the wrong choices. I don't want to level up and look at my talent tree and be like, ooh, this looks really cool, but I'm not supposed to take that one. I'm supposed to take this one because it's the best choice end game for DPS. This is robbing you of an experience that you only have for a little while. So A lot of people in Guild Wars 2 feel exactly that way. They don't want to have to be confronted with their inefficiency. They don't want to have to be told all of the choices that you like to make, all that cool build that you made yourself, that felt awesome, that you got the gear for, that you built synergies around. That's actually trash, and you need to throw it all away and take this cookie cutter build and then learn that one. So there's reason for it. Even World of Warcraft doesn't give you an in-game damage meter. It's an add-on that they allow. Right now, they have a much wider open API. Right, like you can do anything with add-ons in World of Warcraft. The way that ANET has handled DPS meters like Arc DPS isn't great. Right, they sort of like unofficially deign to allow us to use it as long as we don't talk about it too much. That's not the best way to manage that. I agree with that. So there should be better handling of it.
Two things. First, thank you, Diaxon, for the raid. Really appreciate
Diaxon?
that.
What's up, buddy?
And secondly, I just want to scroll back up here. Diamond had said about the fact that, let me see if I can find it, Final Fantasy, actually, 14, was constantly, like, pushing against like being able to complete that. And that's where, here we go. Like the gear treadmill and mandatory harder and harder group content in relation to personal story are two big reasons I left Final Fantasy 14 for Guild Wars 2. So you do get that side of things.
Yeah, and that's an incredibly important thing about vertical progression. We were talking a moment ago about horizontal progression that Guild Wars 2 offers, and then vertical progression, which is that's the essence of the gear treadmill, right? We hear things like gear treadmill, and it sounds really negative, and in a way, it is. I think that Guild Wars 2 has attracted a lot of players who played WoW and other similar games, and then felt like, you know, I've been reduced to a gear score number. And my gear score number is never going to be what Cryptic's is. Cryptic is too OP. I will never catch him. I will never be able to play in his raid. He's too good. And so, like, why do I even bother? Why do I even play? Which is why you see such a big boost to WoW numbers every time a new expansion comes out, because it evens the playing field. When you increase the level cap, all of a sudden you're replacing your legendary equipment with greens and blues and trash that you get from solo quests, and that levels the playing field with everyone. ESO to a degree has that same sort of thing. Less. There's more of a gear progression, but the gear treadmill doesn't continue so much. Final Fantasy and WoW, games that are more old school, they genuinely do have that treadmill. So for some people, it's really toxic. They don't want to have to be reduced to a number. But, and here's what, I think everyone in Guild Wars 2 is used to saying that. Gear treadmill is bad. But this is my 2 cents, and this is what I'd like to convey. I think a lot of people forget what you lose when you trade that. Now, I'm not saying that it's the better way, but it is a trade-off. It isn't just a, you know, we get rid of that and now everything is fixed. Basically, when you are in, I'll just talk about EverQuest, like way back in the day. Like my friends and I all got together, played this really hard dungeon, fought our way to the bottom and killed the dragon, managed to defeat it, get the big flaming sword of dragon decapitation or whatever, and you're like, wow, this sword is super cool. It has the effect that now when I slash, it shoots fire out of it, and it's perfect for my build that I've been working on. Like, oh god, now my character's way better. I'm so excited that dropped. There's a really rich experience that is gone when that goes away. You still have the dungeon, right? We can all get together and fight to the bottom of Ascalonian catacombs together and get the win, but are you excited about what the dragon's going to drop at the bottom of the dungeon? No, of course not. You could drop, at very best, a yellow item or an exotic item from something that is a cookie cutter of every other item in the exact same way in the game that just has a couple more stats to it. So the flaming sword of dragon decay. Why am I gesturing with cauliflower? Why do I still have this in my hand?
Because it's cauliflower focus. Didn't you hear chat?
No. So you rob yourself of the experience of getting that epic experience. So it's there's pluses and minuses. To some people that's okay. So some people, they don't care. They don't really need the Wind Fury Blessed Blade of the Windseeker or whatever it is from World of Warcraft. That's not a big deal. That the trade-off to no gear treadmill is worth it. Which is why, again, my argument is always that games like Guild Wars 2 should exist. But there's got to be alternatives as well for other people.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. And I'd love to keep talking about it, but we should move on before we
Brick,
wrap
I
this
agree.
up to the new expansion, Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons. Are you getting cauliflower thrown
Throwing
at you?
cauliflower is dangerous. This is heavy. Yeah. So obviously there's a million things we could talk about in this. I think like the way that the genre is shaping up is really interesting.
Oh, sorry.
But-
I know I chucked cauliflower at you. I don't know if you heard Cryptic's last question about End of Dragons.
Well, no, I was just going to say before we
Oh.
wrap up to sort of close things out with the discussion about End of Dragons that there's so much good meat to talk about here, and I want everyone to know that this is not going to be a one-time thing. We're going to be continuing these podcasts. My goal would be to reach out to other streamers, other content creators, people that have other things to say about this, and to have it be, you know, once a week, once every other week, once a month, depending on how interested people are in this kind of content. Get other streamers to come on and talk about what's happening in their side of the world, their community, their stream. So it could be awesome. We'll come back next time. I won't have an eternity next time, though. Sorry. This is my last eternity.
You might. Who knows? Real quick, though, we'll wrap up with a bit of talk about End of Dragon. So, obviously, new expansion coming out next year. Probably mid to late next year would be my guess. Some people are speculating early. I don't think. I think it's going to be late 2021. You got to build in for delays. But we've had a trailer drop. That was pretty awesome.
Yes. Teaser.
So yeah, teaser, some teaser images. We could probably talk more about like the story and lore and stuff later. I know like anybody that's curious, Wooden Potatoes is putting out videos like that right now. So if you want to know more about like the Cantha story, Guild Wars 1, the characters that are involved, go check out his channel. They knows way more about it than I think the collective of us three here, because I didn't play Guild Wars 1 and you two missed that expansion, right? The Cantha stuff.
Yep. You have not played it at all. But shout out, I'm gonna shout myself out. Junie and I are actually going to be doing a Cantha playthrough of Guild Wars 1. We're going to be streaming that once a week all the way until the expansion comes out. So we'll be trying to get through it. If you're curious about the game, if you want to play with us or just watch the story unfold for Cantha, we're going to be doing it from beginning to end, streamed the whole time.
I will say you're in for a shock because Kunavang's voice is way different in Guild Wars 1 than in the teaser. I looked it up immediately because I remember like watching Teapot play Guild Wars, or not Teapot, Wooden Potatoes play Guild Wars 1. And I was like, this doesn't sound right. And yeah, they changed voice actors or something, but that's to be expected.
The voice in the teaser was so cool.
It was.
It was actually an awesome voice.
It really was. But let's talk about some more like mechanical things about Guild Wars 2 and specifically what's going on at End of Dragons. Two things I want to touch on. One, how much underwater content do you think is going to be coming to End of Dragons? I know it's the huge speculation right now. People are expecting there to be a lot of underwater stuff. If you have seen the precursor and legendary prices increasing for the 2 underwater legendaries,
Yep.
I know the precursors have gone up by from 50 gold to I think it's over 300 at this point.
We've given away a couple in the last couple of weeks, so yeah. I've watched it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can blame Enko for a lot of that. I don't know how much the legendaries have gone up, but I know they have gone up. So, I mean, I know a lot of people were expecting it. We had the skimmer come with the underwater stuff, so they're building up to it. It seems like the Jade Sea is still a thing, though. So how much underwater content are we actually going to get, and how much do you actually want?
That's actually a really good question. It's going to make me very unpopular. I think that Underwater was just done poorly in the beginning, really poorly. It shaped a really big community outlet, like dripping with disdain. People just cannot stand the thought of underwater combat, but not because it is underwater combat. It's because of their previous experience with it. And I can tell you that's a fact because when the game first came out, everyone was excited about it. Do you guys remember the hype about the underwater stuff? That was big. Everyone loved the idea. Underwater weapons, underwater skills, the way that it would be very different from on land. But the problem was it was done horribly. And they have made attempts to try to fix it between the beginning and now. And that's great. To be perfectly honest, I only raid. I don't really know if the upgrades to it have been successful. I genuinely don't know, but I can tell you that what I would like to see is more underwater combat. I know people are gonna lynch me right now, but I like the idea of the underwater skimmer. I like the idea of underwater feeling like a different elite spec. Like your character changes drastically. In fact, one of my favorite skill animations and qualities of any class in this game is underwater mesmer that turns into like a bard. You've seen the musical stuff from the Trident, is it? Something like that? Like the theme behind all that is so cool. And if they really and the engineer with like you have the turrets that are floating with so
with
many
the little
cool
balloons.
things.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Dude.
It's so cool.
It's a good opportunity to make something really good, but it has to be done really, really well. So you want my advice? You want my opinion on how it should go? I think there should be more of it. The Jade Sea sounds amazing. Like the thought of having to do underwater stuff and actually have it be fun is more exciting than a lot of other things. I think it would be great.
Self-fit glasses said that's how I look at it too. It's harder, but harder shouldn't mean bad. That's absolutely true. I actually really liked underwater combat. It's what originally brought me to Guild Wars 2 was the fact that they had underwater combat. And I remember seeing one of their hype videos like back in the summer of 2014 or no 2012, and that was big for me. And that's actually why I came to the game. And it's unfortunate that it wasn't implemented as well. But I think a lot of that has to do with like the physics and the movement and everything. And they have put in a lot of fixes.
Well, and half of your character's skills not working and going so slow underwater. There were so many things.
Right. But like they said, like it doesn't matter if it's harder. It just shouldn't be frustrating. So as long as things are smooth and they feel like you're in control of your character and your skills, it can be hard. And I think that's always been the issue for me. Like I only get frustrated with games when I feel I don't have proper control of my character.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. And I would definitely like that to be like the kind of direction they had. But my concern is that we're going to see the same thing with underwater combat that we've seen in Guild Wars' entire lifespan, where it seems like half the development team is trying to support it and make it better, and the other half is trying to remove it from the game. And I'm concerned that the same thing's going to happen in the Cantha expansion, because we know it's not the underwater expansion like that website, right? Like that fan-made website.
Oh man, that website was so good.
It was so good.
Talking about? It was
so
amazing.
Good. You can still find it, I think, somewhere out there if you look it up.
It was a fake. It was somebody who did it as just sort of like a fan project.
Job,
they made
basically.
A fake thing, and if you went and looked up in the HTML, it said, "Internet, please hire me." It's really good.
Yeah. But no, I mean, if it was a dedicated underwater expansion, I think my faith would go up to like 90% that this would be the underwater content that we've always dreamed it to be.
There it is,
even higher than
nice.
that. But because it's going to be, and we don't know, it could be zero underwater content, but if there is, it's going to undoubtedly be a split content thing, right? How much does that like affect the end product? I'm very concerned that it'll be the same as the rest of Guild Wars 2, which is, like I said, half the dev team wants to remove underwater combat, the other half wants to make it the thing that they always wanted it to be.
Yeah, it does feel like they've been not always completely cohesive. They're not always sort of backing the same direction. And I think like the various little things we gleaned from the giant what would you call that? Like a reshuffling of ArenaNet restructuring. We kind of got that, right? Wasn't that the vibe that you got, that it felt like ANET was sort of all over the place? There was all these different projects they were working on. Not all of them were coming to fruition. Not everyone was on the same page. So NCSoft was trying to sort of like recenter them on some things. Not that we know. I have no idea what's really went on there. I experienced mostly sympathy, to be honest, for the employees there, and how much that must have been devastating. And for us as the game players, with our entire game sort of in question all of a sudden. But I think my hope would be that now they're very centered, hopefully very, especially behind a giant expansion now, right? This isn't just random team working on this, random team working on that. They're coming out with a new expansion with hopefully a cohesive direction. So my hope would be that it's good. But I do agree. I think ANET is not always great at making like strong stances on something and then going with it, you know. The especially something like underwater, right, which is an incredibly divisive topic. Like I half expected, I literally expected half of the chat to erupt when I said underwater would be cool. You know, like I've seen giant arguments about stuff like that. So, you know, I can see how it might be a difficult subject to broach. But here I am right now, sitting in one of the starting zones of the game, and I remember getting here right when the game came out 8 freaking years ago, dude, and hopping in the water and being super excited to see what happened to my skills. And I don't know, man. I still have high hopes. I believe in ANET, man. You guys, you guys are great. You can do this.
And on that note, before we end, we should talk about End of Dragons in a bit of positive light. What are your expectations for End of Dragons? I mean, obviously for me, I think it needs to release
Elite specs.
Elite specs, definitely great sword rev. Any ANET people watching? Great sword rev, make it happen.
Oh man.
Or if at least I'll take secondary elite spec would be dual two-handed weapon warrior, right? All right.
Yeah, Titan's Grip Warrior.
Yes.
One two-hander in each weapon. 100%.
I want to be Zamros. I want to make Zamros. I want to take Zamros away from Nessie and make the proper Zamros.
Yes. I feel that for sure.
But no. Player housing is a big thing for me. I want
there it is.
real.
That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah,
player
I want
housing.
real. I want ESO player housing. Give me that, and I will never stop playing Guild Wars 2.
No. Okay, so this is you could do a whole podcast on just this. So player housing and Guild Wars 2 player base. There are certain games out there where the player base could care less if there's player housing. Guild Wars 2 is not one of them. Guild Wars 2 player base would freaking love player housing. And the payment model for this game, the gem store, I mean, give me a break. It's designed for it, guys.
Yeah, perfect.
Like, come out with player housing and then sell housing items on the, you know, we'll pay gems for that. I'm telling you, the community in this game, that very role-playing, casual, friendly, don't prove me wrong, guys, be friendly, community behind Guild Wars 2 would be thrilled for player housing. Absolutely thrilled. So please, that would be a big one. That'd be a big
like
one.
you said, it would be a huge cash influx for ANET. Not only obviously the expansion aside, but like the player housing in the cash shop. I would bet, large amounts of money that aside from the loot boxes in ESO, the thing that brings in the most money from the cash shop, loot boxes aside, is the housing stuff. Yeah,
100%. The houses themselves and the housing items themselves.
And the items, yep. Those two combined probably outshine everything else by miles, with the exception of loot boxes, because loot boxes.
In front of us from day one. I remember, starting my first character, going to Divinity's Reach, walking into the housing district, and seeing a door that was openable and thought like, oh, this is it. And then, nothing really came of it.
Yeah, there's a couple of things, if ANET marketing is listening, that I think you guys could make a lot of money from. One is player housing for sure. That'd probably be number one. Two, anybody here play Path of Exile? Path of Exile has what I think is the coolest idea ever for Guild Wars 2, which is cosmetic reskins of abilities looking differently based on a skin that you purchase from the cash shop. So here's I'll give you a great example. I am a Sylvari I am an Asura engineer. I think to myself, I love the idea of an Asuran engineer. That goes perfectly together. This is going to be great. So I look around, I see all of the Asuran Magitech all over Radasum, and then I summon my turret. And it's a hunk of junk. It looks like it should have been built in a scrapyard in a garbage heap in the back of the Black Citadel. You know what I'm saying? It is not meant for my Asuran engineer. So yeah, but I'm Mr. Wug. Yeah, Char Engi for sure. Char Engi fits all of the aesthetic that you get. But if you're going to play a Sylvari, it would be really cool to get seed turrets. If you're and you don't have to just do this out of the kindness of your hearts. This is stuff I would buy. This is stuff I promise you everyone would buy, and then just disable it in PvP and World v World. No big deal.
Yeah, and then the inverse is true too, right? Think of the player that created an engineer at launch, right? And saw the aesthetic and said, I'm going to make this a char engineer, full on char engineer. And then Hollowsmith comes out and it's a Soren. It's entirely not char at all.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
They are now also super invested in keeping their char engineer going and will pay for all of these things that make them look like more, look, a Hollowsmith have char engineer, like, Prime Lightbeam is like this big, gigantic flamethrower or something, right?
Yeah. There's unlimited ideas for it. If you guys want to see how well it can be done, go look at PoE. Go look at Path of Exile. It's really amazing.
Wow.
I'm seeing other people's responses in the chat, and I 100% agree with you. Which is why at the end of my little speech there, I said just disable it in PvP and World v World, because you would have to. It would be completely unfair. People do recognize skills based on their animations, but even still, there's a lot of things that you can buy from the gem store now that can't be used in PvP. So that's not to say that they still shouldn't do it. But I agree. Yes, Brick, we're still on the same page, bro. I get it. Totally agree. We would not want that mucking things up in PvP, in competitive modes.
And other super competitive games, take League of Legends, for example, right? They have skins that drastically, entirely alter the look of all the abilities of the, different champions. So it's not like it can't be done. And when they go overboard, they ban those skins from competitive modes, right? So I think there's a balancing. I think you nailed it, right? Just don't let it in PvP and
just disable it. Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm.
So the very last thing, still on desires for the expansion before we wrap up, is NPC companions. Any thoughts on that? I really want it. I want Guild Wars 1.
You mean Guild Wars 1? Yeah, yes. Dude. Oh man, you mean like customizable?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So one, it would give you something to use your gear on, right? Mm-hmm. You get these heroes. You can now put all that ascended gear that you've been hoarding since the beginning of raids.
Yeah, dude.
You can throw it on all those characters.
Yeah, man.
Exactly. They're all going to want builds. They're going to want healing builds. They're going to want damage builds. They're going to want all that stuff.
So there's I totally get what you mean. And when I go back to play Guild Wars 1, it's actually one of the biggest attractive elements to it. I think that it's an incredible way to tell story. First of all, it actually makes it feel more like a Final Fantasy, like a single player RPG. Which is amazing to allow you to go through the game in that way. I would say that there's a flip side to it as well, which is the same effect that it had in Guild Wars 1 that makes the game encourage that. It makes it a more lonely game. Like you are, it's really possible to not interact with people. And so is that a positive thing for an MMO? Not always. So my guess would be, or my take on it would be, that it would be a really good idea. It would be a wonderful throwback to Guild Wars 1. Give a lot of extra systems and flexibility in a way that is brand new, that we've never seen in Guild Wars 2, which would be really exciting to do. Like you said, gear them, design them, fashion wars
more
them.
Cash shop
all of it
stuff
could be fun, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if anybody ever played STO, in Star Trek Online, but you have your whole away team that you kind of fashion wars as well. It's kind of fun to do that. So there's a lot of cool things about it, but it couldn't be allowed to be taken into like fractals and raids and things. You'd have to be really careful about the implementation of it so as not to further break down the need to interact with other humans in a massively multiplayer online game, which is something that I think the genre itself is always struggling with at this point.
I think like world boss encounters, World v World, PvP, raids, fractals, they'd have to be disabled and all that. When you get close to a world boss, when a world boss is spawned and you start walking up close to it, they just disappear.
There are ways to do it, is basically what we're saying. There are ways to do it that would alleviate some concern, but then also bring a cool system back to the game. So there's no knowing if they'll do it or not, but I could see that as something that could be cool.
And like I said, more gem store things, more long-term income for the game. So
I would like, so my big thing for this expansion always is elite specializations. I think elite specs breathe new life into the game. I've famously said in the past, like, if they didn't even come out with a new expansion, but said instead, guys, we're coming out with 3 elite specs for each class, I'd be like, well, that's good. I'll buy it. $50. You got it. No problem. That's content for Merrick TV. I think additional elite specs breathe life into the game in a way that nothing else does. It is unlimited replayability. Every time somebody gets to that point and they want to try this new build, this new spec, this new whatever, like that is where the lasting excitement comes in, and the diversity of each of the amazing classes that ANET has made. from the beginning of this game. Like, you know, I always talk about how Mesmer is so unique and amazing that it's completely unique to ANET and Guild Wars 2, but somehow still so iconic and tangible. It feels like it's always existed, even though it hasn't. It feels archetypal, even though it's, you know, completely arbitrary to just this one game. And I love that. And branching out farther in that with Chronomancer and Mirage, you guys have to admit, like, they've been terribly successful in the Elite Specialization editions for every class that has come out, right? Except maybe Spellbreaker. Weird. Spellbreaker's a little weird. But I mean, everything else is just great, right? Like, I think that they've done a really... And even with Spellbreaker, thematically, lore-wise, and even the way that the skill use is... Hey, I like Deadeye, man. It adds so much. So I'm very excited to do that. I'm really thrilled to experience a new world, a new story, like an absolutely fresh story, right? We're not going back. We're going forward here, and that feels really good. It's not just an addition to the story that's already there. I think we're going to see some really new things here, and we'll get to experience it with new elite specs if everything goes according to plan. And I'm freaking excited, guys. Aren't you thrilled? I just want to end this on a really positive note. Aren't you guys so excited to be given something tangible? The Cantha confirmed. I got goosebumps, dude, when that thing ended. Just hearing them say the words, Cantha confirmed.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely
huge, you guys. Can we get some big hype for this? We weren't sure we were ever getting another expansion again. We didn't know we'd ever see another elite spec. This is enormous. This is our community coming together right now for something that is going to be incredibly exciting. So I don't know about you. I haven't been this excited about Guild Wars 2 in a long time. This is a great place to be, a great community to be here with, and a lot of exciting things to come.
Yeah, and people were saying in chat that Spellbreaker is good in PvP. So, like, ArenaNet is to be absolutely commended for their dedication to the elite specs. They have stuck with that and have done an amazing job. And then, of course, the dedication to expansions that we thought they had given up on, but they absolutely have not. And they're going to give the community what we've been asking for, and it's going to be amazing. And we're all super hyped about it. So yeah,
it's big, man. It's big.
It's big.
And I guess on that really high, excellent note.
Mary,
yeah?
I'd like to say two things. Okay. For Coffee Break, we plan to do this again.
Yes.
And, you know, we have a bunch of topics that we're planning, but I'm going to create a special channel in our Discord, and we can take content suggestions because we would love to hear what everyone is interested in seeing, so we can start implementing that into some of our future coffee breaks.
That's actually a great idea. You guys can reflect on the conversation that we had here today. If you have anything else you want to share, you want to discuss, and then maybe future topics for us to talk about. If you guys are interested in this, if you liked this format, we are super happy to do it again. I love the genre of MMOs. I love this game, and you guys know I love all of you. I love the community who plays it. Interaction like this is incredibly positive. I want to thank Darkbringer for coming and hanging out with us today in chat. Even just that's an ArenaNet employee coming and hanging out, listening to the conversation about this, even interacting in chat with some things. So thank you so much for stopping by. I already talked to another streamer who said that they would be interested in coming and talking next time we do this. So if this is something you guys like, we'll bring in different streamers, different personalities, different content creators, and then maybe someday even Darkbringer or an ArenaNet employee in general would be super awesome. So stay tuned for that, guys. Lots of exciting things. By the way,
one more cauliflower related thing.
Yes, of course.
I know we have to cut this stream done soon, but I believe, Marek, you have a bunch of cauliflower in your mail. So next stream, for anybody who's been following Enko's amazing Caulipocalypse, you know we have cauliflower in our real lives, in our home now, but Marek is going to have to open the thousands and thousands and thousands of mails that Enko has sent him. Our next stream tomorrow. Stop by and just watch, because
oh god, it's not gonna be great. It's not gonna be pretty, guys. It's not gonna be pretty. If anyone is brand new here, hey, I want to shout out, first of all, Mighty Teapot and Diaxon. Thank you guys so much for the raids today. Dropping extra viewers in here to join in on the conversation. Really, really cool of both of you. I love you both. Fellow members of Delusional Elitist Stream Team, guys. So, very exciting stuff. If you are new, my name is Merrick TV. I stream Guild Wars 2 almost every day of the week. Love this game. Love interacting with my chat. So, hopefully you guys will come back for some of the other exciting things we're doing right now. We're doing a level 1 to 80 Iron Man hardcore challenge where if I get to level 80, someone's sponsored me. We're going to give away legendaries and stuff if I get to level 80. But if I die, I have to delete. So it's going to be pretty exciting. We're also going to be doing our Guild Wars 1 playthrough of Cantha pretty soon. So that's going to be happening on stream. If you guys are interested in any of this or the coffee break in general, follow, subscribe. Really supports the channel, guys. Really amazing stuff. It's what allows us to do this every day. So we love you very much. Thank you all. And get ready to see who wins an eternity and 150 gold, guys. It's right now.
Hype. Oh, and don't forget cauliflower too. You need to start dumping that now. So
No.
I mean,
have some cauliflower.
Mail. Take a look at your mail, Merrick. There's a lot in there. I don't know if it's ever gonna end.
No.
I expect cauliflower soup and a bunch of other stuff made with all this cauliflower you received.
Oh, there's gonna be a lot of things.
We could try to make cauliflower soup. That could actually happen. Okay, guys. Last chance to get in there. Exclamation point enter or exclamation point rigged in the chat. Also type. Actually, don't type. I'm just gonna click this button. Well, bam. Join that Discord, guys. Join the Merrick. It's just gone now. It's all been spammed. Join the Merrick TV Discord. It's where I coordinate what I stream, when I stream it, who I stream it with, and what we're going to be talking about when it comes to future coffee breaks. Also, Delusional Elitist Stream Team and Discord, guys. Make sure you join it. Come and join in on the fun. You're going to see a lot of the content creators, hopefully, talking with us in the future. So, lots to look forward to, guys. Should be very exciting.
Yeah. Thanks again, Merrick and Junie. It was an absolute blast.
Dude, thank you, Cryptic.
Thank you, Cryptic, for hosting this amazing first coffee break pilot episode.
Also, first face reveal of Cryptic Villain.
First face reveal
Yeah,
for
yeah.
It's not strictly true, but sure, we'll go with it.
Yeah, first ever.
Okay.
No one in his whole life has seen his face until today. It's a big day. It's a big day.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting, the cursor kept poking me in the face, so I had to deal,
Dude,
At least you didn't have real Merrick finger poking you in the face.
See, look, Junie, look at my screen right now. You see where the cursor is? It's over my character's head.
Yeah.
Now look on stream.
Yeah.
It's over Cryptic's head. I don't know why it's that way, but it is. It is. All right, let's pull it, guys. Here it comes.
Here it goes.
Drum roll, please. The winner of an eternity and 150 gold. 150 gold on top of it.
The 150 gold was donated by Zomp, and the eternity was donated by Aza and Associates.
Aza and Associates, other people who contributed to try to make this an even bigger giveaway. So huge shout out to them. Thank you guys so much for making this stream a better place. Follow, subscribe, guys. Get in there. Support the channel. We love you. And time to win an eternity. Let's go. Here it is. The winner is... who is it? Doot. Dude, congrats, dude. Congratulations.
You just unicorns dancing on rainbows. Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows.
Thank you so much for donating your Twitch Prime. I know you only get one of those, and you decided to give it to us here at Merrick TV, and we love you for it. Thank you so much. You look fabulous today. Very handsome. Very handsome. Congratulations to our friend Doot. Are you in the chat, man? Dootenum. Anybody see Doot? You just won way too much money, dude. Way too much. Way too much in a single giveaway. You don't have it, huh? I have it?
You have it,
Is it
Mary.
me?
He's there.
Look at all
He's
this
there.
cauliflower. Woo.
He's in chat.
He's in chat.
You in chat?
He says, I'm here. That was great, dude. Yes, congratulations. We're about to send that out. Thank you guys again. Don't forget, I will be streaming again tomorrow. I'll probably be continuing my Zero to Hero Iron Man hardcore challenge, where if I die, I delete the game from my computer forever. which it's very sad.
Saying things, but that's not actually. It's that character.
World of Warcraft main for life after that, so it's very sad. Hopefully I never die. Please come and protect me. Dude, did we get Dude's thing?
Looking in chat
In-game
now.
name?
Your IGN, dude.
I need your IGN, your in-game name, dude. Type it in chat so that we all see that it is in fact you. Actually had somebody once try to steal a win, even though they didn't win. AFK rigged reroll. Okay, guys, I am going to be rating another streamer right now. You know who it's going to be. I know who it's going to be. I know exactly who it's going to be.
Also, Marek, you have won the cauliflower giveaway, says CV Dazzle. That is so true.
Nice. There he is. There's Dude. All right, guys, we are going to raid none other than my man Isa. Okay, he's the one who donated this giveaway along with other people. So Isa's amazing, NADL organizer, guys. I don't know what we would do without him. Make sure to drop him a follow when you get there. Show some Merrick TV hype in the chat. I love to see that love. Make sure to show him some love too. Here it is, Defro.
Defrothew.8700. Send it to my brother's account. Oh my gosh, you are so generous. You're giving this to your brother?
That's it, right?
And 150 gold, yeah.
Done. All right, guys, we love you all. Have a great...
Hold on. You have to also send him cauliflower. Come on.
You interrupted my great outro. I was all excited and stuff.
Send cauliflower. Gotta send him cauliflower.
Bam.
That is really nice of you, dude. That's really nice.
All right, guys, you're all awesome. You're all beautiful. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hopefully you join the Discord. Join in on the conversation. Get involved. We want you there. We love you. Stay virus free. I'll see you guys next time.